Okay, only took me 2 hours to get the motivation to record this video. I actually woke up relatively early today for once because I had therapy, but due to technical difficulties, I wasn't able to talk to my therapist using my camera because we have a telehealth appointment. Anyway, today, this is going to be my therapy for today. Let me just have some coffee. Okay, I want to talk about my mental health, and I want to talk about particularly male borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder, and how often I think that they're confused. I think that a lot of guys that end up in therapy, at least me, the reason that they come to therapy is because of anxiety or depression. I mean, most people, that's one of the main reasons why they come to therapy. And I think in my case, I spent so much time talking about my depression and my anxiety and my family of origin issues and all the things that were kind of happening in my life in my mid to late 20s, that kind of really was pushing me into therapy. I spent a lot of time talking about that stuff, and I think a lot of things got missed. I mean, the goal of therapy really isn't to get a diagnosis, but it's to improve areas of your life, and being diagnosed enables the therapist to kind of help you along with that, but it's not the main goal, right? But my point is that I think that in my case, I was diagnosed as bipolar NOS, more than once actually. But it's a diagnosis that I never agreed with. And it's like, when I say I don't agree with it, it's not because my ego. If I believed that I was bipolar and I thought that the treatment would help me, like a mood stabilizer or something like that, I would probably go for it. But I never identified with a bipolar diagnosis, and I even told both therapists that. I would say I don't think I'm bipolar. I think that I have Tourette's and low self-esteem and other things that I've talked about in my other videos. But yeah, so one of the reasons why I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder is because I came to therapy with a lot of anxiety, and I was staying up late, a lot of mood dysregulation, a lot of energy problems and focus problems. And like I said, I was staying up late trying to get work done. So I could see why I was viewed through the bipolar lens. But I just always felt like there was a better solution. There was a better label for my problems. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. So I am under the suspicion that I'm probably on the borderline personality spectrum. I don't think that I have the full-blown disorder, but I definitely identify with some of the traits. And my new therapist that I mentioned earlier in the video, I didn't get a chance to talk to him today, but the previous session, he agreed with me. So that was very validating for me, because I told my previous therapist, who I had a great relationship with, but I just didn't agree with her diagnosis. I told her that I thought I had borderline personality disorder, or at least traits, or whatever you want to call it, a borderline complex, a borderline way of just viewing relationships, and she didn't agree with me. I mean, I had just lost a girlfriend at that time, and she made a point to say that I took it really well. I didn't stalk my girlfriend or harass her or any of the things that you read about people with extreme borderline personality disorder doing. And see, that's a problem right there, is that a lot of therapists, a lot of people in the mental health field view borderline personality disorder as this extreme untreatable thing. It's if you don't have an extreme manifestation of borderline personality disorder, which is rare. I mean, a lot of the people aren't pure BPD, where they meet all, 16? No, you need 8 traits out of something. I don't know. But my point is that just because you're not manifesting extreme traits doesn't mean that you can't benefit from dialectical behavioral therapy like DBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy like CBT, and the other modalities that my current therapist uses. So if you've been like diagnosed as bipolar disorder or anything else, and you feel like the therapy isn't working, or you don't identify with the symptoms, I mean, I would really encourage you to to get a second opinion. Doesn't mean you have to change therapists, but get a second opinion and trust your gut, because, for the past, I don't know, 10 years, I've had this bipolar diagnosis that it upset me when I was diagnosed with it, because I was like, I'm screwed. Like, I can't finish college, I can't have a relationship because like my mood is just all over the place. But I really feel like I don't want to say disservice. I just feel like things were missed. And I'm not blaming any of my past therapists. Like, I have a lot of issues, I have Tourette syndrome. So it's like, when you have Tourette's, I mean, you have a whole bunch of things going on. Like, Google Tourette's and Google Tourette's comorbidities. Like, you can have social anxiety. You could have bipolar disorder. You could have personality disorder traits, or the full-blown disorder. And of course, you could have bipolar disorder and BPD, borderline personality disorder, at the same time. I'm not saying like that's not possible with me. I'm a little bit angry that therapists don't they have like a really old view of borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder. But I would especially say borderline personality disorder. I feel like it's missed in men. A lot of men with borderline personality disorder are in prison because they committed crimes and they were like misdiagnosed, probably with antisocial personality disorder. And you could have both. I'm just saying that because of the severity of other symptoms, like if you're murdering people, or committing crimes, chances are that you're not going to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, because they're so distracted by the other symptoms, like you killing people, which isn't a symptom, and I shouldn't laugh at that. But my point is that it's so easy for, I think, the core content of borderline personality disorder, to use Dr. Fox's term, the core content, like the unstable sense of self, the feelings of abandonment, the clinginess. I just want to take I'm trying to say, like, all those things get kind of swept under the rug because the person is coming with depression and anxiety, and they spend so much time talking about that sometimes they don't delve deeper into finding the reasons, like, why they feel like that. So in my case, I was looking into types of borderline personality disorder, and I feel like I identify most with the discouraged type. And I'm just going to read some of the symptoms for you here. You could be perfectionistic, be very successful, be high functioning. I would be considered a high functioning borderline, but feel alienated and detached in groups, for sure. So far I've identified myself in a lot of these. Seek approval, but also self-isolate. That's a big one for me. Engage in self-harm or suicidal behavior. I've had suicidal ideation, especially like during the COVID and everything. It's been really rough for everyone, but like, especially if you have mental health problems. And and feeling lonely and empty a lot of the times. Now, that part is, I feel like, where a lot of my, for lack of a better term, hypomanic symptoms come from, because I'm always looking for a distraction to avoid the feelings of emptiness and anger that I feel deep inside me. And I feel like a lot of people with BPD feel a deep sense of like sadness, anger. They have trouble. I don't have trouble being alone, but I have trouble like not doing something. Like, I always have to be doing something, whether it's scrolling on my phone or usually doing a whole bunch of things at once while I'm trying to work, because I'm trying to distract myself from these really intense feelings of just negative, like, I don't like how I see myself and things like that. So going back to this list, which I'll link in this video, signs of discouraged BPD include clinginess, codependency, neediness, anger, and emotional mood swings if abandonment issues get triggered. And I see myself in like all of these. I've struggled with codependency, and clinginess, and neediness, and anger, and emotional mood swings. And I mean, there are people, if like one of my friends watched this video, like they probably wouldn't agree with me, but they don't see that side of me, which is what I'm saying. I feel like I hide a large part of myself from people due to a fear of, I don't want to say abandonment. I feel like I fear connection with people. And maybe at the root of that is because I fear abandonment. It's like, it's easier for me not to be close to someone versus being close to someone and then having the relationship end. And that's what it's felt like these past 6 to 10 years of me trying to figure out what's going on with me. So I did not expect this video to be so long. I'm sorry if I rambled, but it's upsetting to me that this happens to so many people where they're misdiagnosed or a diagnosis is missed and their root problems are not being treated and they get worse. And things like this really impact lives. So like, please, if this has happened to you, let me know in the comments like how you're doing and how you got properly diagnosed.